Welcome back to Valley Boys TCG. CK here, and we have some Battle Spirit Saga. We are running it back with our buddy Anthony, his Surveyor deck, and we are running a Terrasaur build now. So he starts off, sets a burst, and sets a Nexus, that inverted world. Solid start, but we get a very good going second start, which is putting down the Volcanic Canyon and then the free Oviraptidon. They freed Oviraptidon from the ban list, so we are excited to be able to play this guy back at 4. So Ovi gets the early chip and comes down for free. Very, very solid, aggressive start from a red Terrasaur build. Put down that Canyon to help set up and filter your hand, and then the free Ovi. So, but Surveyors, they can get just as aggressive. So we see the Soul Horse come down, so he's gonna have multiple options for reduction. Ryusei comes down for cheap. And now we are looking at how to clap back. So from the discard, we toss away a Giganorex, and we just quickly play the option here to clear board. I feel like Terrasaur obviously can be a very aggressive deck, but we're gonna try to play this on the side of control, just to try to see how it goes into Surveyors. I'm trying to find my best way to play around it. I think control is the better way to approach it if I can. He gets Fang set up, and Fang has a way to really set up some defensive capabilities for Surveyors, so he's matching my control for a protection package now. So you see the Setsuna is gonna ramp him cores, the inverted world, his Nexus is gonna ramp him cores, so he's just coring up like crazy right now. And then Fang is just gonna set up some protection for the Surveyors on board. We are going to use our Canyon here to toss the Brutal Dino there. Brutal Dino does have the ability to come back from the trash, so it's no problem. Filter in our hand, toss him to the trash. So we have 2 red reductions on board. We're trying to decide what to do. And I think, okay, so we're testing out. So we're testing out Rex Bearer here. The promo Terrasaur, it's a 1-of in this list, and honestly, I didn't really do much for me. I wasn't a big fan of it. It's probably coming out. I just like the fact that it does have red-purple, so it has some synergy with this deck because it is a red-purple Terrasaur deck. As you see, we're running the Brutal Dino. So we have a combination of Brutal Dino and Giganorex. But we go ahead and just Burning Force to get rid of that Inverted World because it's just ramping up too much value for him. So we need to get Inverted World off the board. And we sit back and we're going to play the defensive game now. And here comes Puff, here comes Ryusei, and here comes the Flood. We have 2 life, and Murasaki. Now Murasaki is really going to make us pay because now Ryusei's first off going to let him draw a card because he has less than 3 cards in hand, and Murasaki is going to give his whole board Astral. So we're forced to proc the Ice Shield, but we've had to pay the cores from all our spirits. So another promo card that I'm trying in the deck is Beavern, and I'm realizing in this matchup Beavern is horrible because in order for Beavern to get value, your opponent has to have all exhausted spirits basically, and he can choose to leave some stuff unexhausted or exhausted, and so I'll never basically get the value out of Beavern in this matchup. But we do get Giganorex out. Gigano will give us a little bit of board control because it will have Confront. It'll be a very big body with Confront, so we'll get to take something out if we decide to swing in. But oddly enough, as much as Surveyors gasses themselves out, if you notice, we have no hand. We've completely extended our hand. We are out of cards, so we're pretty cooked. And this is where I'm realizing that Beavern does not get the card draw for us because of how his board state is set up. So somehow we ran out of cards before Surveyors did. And yep, he's just gonna reset up his board, send out his whole hand, and just full send. And might as well, right? We saw us already proc the Ice Shield, so there's no threat. Ryusei is gonna get his hand size back up. We do have a Hellcrack, so we can remove one core from 2 of his spirits, but it's not gonna make a difference at this point. Murasaki still has enough to give everyone Astral, so he can just go in. So not a good start for us, but we're going to try to recover here. Here we go on to game 2, and we're going first. And we start off by just setting a burst and getting Volcanic Canyon out. Really what we want to see. And he's starting off with the Naga, interestingly enough. And then at this point he realizes he left a card in his burst from the previous game. So we just kind of shuffle it back into the deck and continue with the gameplay because we don't want to start over. We've already started rolling, even though it's essentially turn 1. So we just shuffle that card that was left from the previous game back in, and no harm, no foul. And we do take the damage from Naga. He just goes in with the early aggressive piece. Now we are going to get the Dino Knight in trash because it is a Immortal Spirit, an Immortal 3 Spirit, 3 and 7 if I'm not mistaken. And so you see Dino Man come down. So if Dino Man goes down, it will trigger the Immortal from the Dino Knight. So go ahead, Dino Man, a staple since set 1. Right now we're playing a very set 1 game. I mean, you see Dino Man, you see Ovi, you see Volcanic Canyon. Terrasaur has been a very strong deck since the beginning, and it still is a very, very playable and usable deck. So we see our Surveyors start coming in. We have Naga, we have Puff, we have Delaney. And he's just checking how it's read, how he's level 3 as long as I have 2 or less. So he's a big boy, but it doesn't matter, he's exhausted. So really, Ovi with enough cores is a threat. You see we trash a Ferocious Prison from hand, which seems a little odd, but it's because we have 2 in hand. So we play the Ferocious Prison and choose to pop. We're trying to figure out, okay, depending on who we destroy, what are the effects that are going to come into play and how is it going to affect us? So we go for the Puff and Naga to avoid their effects. And we figure that their effects are more of a threat to our board state. Naga will remove a core, Puff will remove DP, so we just remove them. We do put a core on Canyon to basically give a 1000 boost to our board, so OV can either trade with Delaney or just go in scot-free. So he lets it through. We pass turn to keep a very big Dino Man on board. As long as he doesn't remove that single core, if he doesn't have another Naga, we should be okay to have 1 big blocker. So he just sets up a Puff and passes back. Now there is a bit of a misplay there because Ferocious Prison, we were supposed to toss something from hand, and it doesn't look like we did. But it doesn't really affect the gameplay here too much. And now we're just setting up classic Gigano Rex style. You have Dino Man, you have Ovi, you have the Bearded Eagle come down and set up for the 2-cost Gigano Rex. So now we have the full red aggressive package. So the Terrasaur deck is doing its thing. So Confront, he's going to have to choose who to block with, and then procs the Doubly Deadly. Very smart play. This time it is done correctly, where he blocks and then chooses the blocking spirit to sacrifice. So we go ahead and sacrifice our Dino Man and our Ovi Raptidon. Now we probably should have kept Dino Man, but this procs the Night Dentist because again we just killed a 3-cost. Probably should have kept Dino Man, but we are going to have more than 2 spirits on board, so honestly Bearded Eagle does make sense. But we do get to proc the Knight, bring the Knight down, since we're triggering in the attack step the loss of a 3-cost spirit. So we are very threatening right now. He's got to be very careful with what he does. He's down to just 1 Puff, and I believe 2 cards in hand. 2 or 3. Looks like 2. So we're trying to decide, do we go in? Do we keep the aggressive up? If we have an ice shield, might as well. He is forced to trade with Puff. Puff will take out our bearded eagle, unfortunately. So maybe we should have swung with the eagle if it was going to trade. But it's fine. We're kind of stabilizing here. We have no defensive setup, but we know that he is weak on cards. So he puts out the Rotting Swamp. And then Deadly Balances. We go ahead and, of course, we're going to trash the Immortal Spirit because why not? And then we see our Dino in trash. So that's good in case we want to change our game plan and get the big Brutus out. And now we see the 1-cost 2-color spirits come down. So the Android Galar is back out. He can go ahead and chip in. We'll go ahead and let that go through because we'll take the core ramp. And we actually see a Rotting Swamp of our own. Tempted to toss that with the Canyon, but instead we toss an Ice Shield, which I think is a very big mental play because it says, hey, I have extra. Like, why would you toss an Ice Shield unless you feel like you have something set up and you already have spares? So obviously we have an Ice Shield set, I believe. So we see Crimson Knight, we see another Dino Man, we see a Rotting Swamp of our own. We are setting up and threatening lethal here. He is completely open. We see no burst. He has no defending spirits. So the smart play says, hey, let's just swing in. Now he does have one card in hand. If that card is, say, a Deadly Balance or Doubly Deadly, we could be hurting. And so here we're thinking about doing the Brutus Dino, and then we realize we're gonna leave ourselves at too few cores. Or I think we're just 1 core short of doing this comfortably. So we go ahead and leave our board and we just swing out. And luckily he doesn't have any sort of response. He just has Naga. So we get game 2, and now we go on to the game 3, and this is where things get very interesting. So Inverted World comes down and a burst is set. Very strong start for him. And then we get our optimal start. So this is very similar to game 1 where we get the Volcanic Canyon to Ovi. Perfect start. That is what we want as our going second turn 1 play. Volcanic Canyon to the free Obi to the chip and a burst set. So clearly we have the god start here. This is what we want to get started. And he gets the Ryusei out, gets a chip damage in return. You see us toss a Bearded Eagle. We get a second Obi down, which is going to let us play a second Obi lets us play the Bearded Eagle also for free. So now we're setting up wide board, and we get a 2-cost Star Blessed out to replenish our hand, and we're just going to go full aggro play here, force him to pop that Ice Shield because we probably have one set ourselves, so we're fine leaving ourselves completely defenseless because the Ice Shield's going to save us anyway. And he's going to try to match our aggro by just playing out all the Surveyors here. We have him down to 2 cores. So he sets another burst, could be another Ice Shield. We see Murasaki come down already. And he starts off with swinging with the Murasaki so that he can get the core ramp from Inverted World and now give everything Astral. We decide to take that one. And then again gets another ramp, and now Ryusei will be able to draw now that he is low in hand size and has the extra core. We take the damage. We want him to swing in and wait to the last second to proc our Ice Shield here so that we don't have to lose any spirits. So we take the 2 that we took earlier and 2 from the board, and that way we keep ourselves at 2 life. So we keep ourselves at 2 life and we have the reduction on board. And so we should be refreshing all our spirits. It's our turn. We're trying to decide what to toss with Canyon. Looks like we toss a Deadly Balance. And now here's our refresh step. And we should be refreshing our board. There it is. Yeah, we set another burst. We refresh our board. And so here's where I know Murasaki is going to be a very big problem, because Murasaki is going to give everything Astral. So we pay 4 to get the Brutal Dino out. Now, Tyrannosaurus is not going to get his full value here. We don't have enough cores, although we do sacrifice an OB to go ahead and go in. So here's where we have to get very, very strategic with our play here, and there's only one way we win this. And in order to win this game, it's all going to come down to the Brutal Dino. Tyrannosaurus swings in, and he procs his Ice Shield, which is what we were expecting. So Ice Shield's been procced. We have 2 spirits for defensive purposes, but it doesn't matter. We don't need them. So we know his board is going to have full Astral. And he's going to go extremely wide here just to have everything set up. So in case I do pop something, he has answers. Now, this is where it gets very tricky and math is very much involved. So he's trying to place everything together so that he can keep track of his effects. So if we proc an Ice Shield here, we are going to lose 2 spirits regardless. And we can't block. So those are some important things to take note of. But we have to be very strategic. Yes, he has a very threatening board. He's coming at us with about 8 spirits. So he swings with Delaney. I believe he should draw with Ryusei. And here is where we pop an Ice Shield from hand, take the life, and it's not a Ice Shield set for burst actually. And here's where we have to be very careful because we have to pay the spirits off the Brutal Dino, which is going to put us down to 6,000. We know that when the puffs get popped, we are going to lose either Naga needs to lose a core so that we don't lose a core. If we pop something here, Naga's going to strip us. So we pop the Hellcrack and we take 1 core off of Naga so that it doesn't have its effect, and 1 core off of Puff. Now Puff dying triggers the other 2 Puffs, which is going to give me minus 2k for each one, which means minus 4k to the Dino. Luckily our Dino is 6k, so we survive. And this was our strategy. We needed to survive. We needed to proc his Ice Shield. And now we are going to threaten lethal here because he doesn't have an Ice Shield. He has plenty of blockers. He's very defensive, but we core up Brutal Dino because his second level 3, or his third effect, I should say, his level 3 effect, when this spirit is blocked, remove a core from your opponent's life. And he also has a refresh. So we are going to swing in. He can block, but he'll lose a life. Then we refresh and do it again. And that is how you use the Brutal Dino. He is forced to take it from life, and even if he blocks, he'll lose the life, and we lock up the game. So here's a look at the deck list for those of you interested in what we played in this gameplay. I really enjoyed playing Terrasaurs again. Hey, it finally got me a win. I think this is the first time I beat Anthony Surveyor's deck, so a lot of fun. Hope you guys enjoyed the gameplay, and hope you guys come back next time.